the Boston Bruins season could be over. The Bruins got blown out yesterday. They go 0-2 at home in their first 2 home games. Needed to at least split at home and they just couldn't do it. The entire Bruins team played bad. There were only a couple guys that looked decent. That was the fourth line. The entire fourth line looked decent, and Charlie McAvoy looked decent as well. At least McAvoy was giving it 100%. Swayman was just left out to dry. At the end of the first period, I believe the shots were like 14-4 Buffalo. 4-0 lead for Buffalo. The game was already over. One of the worst games to be at. I was there. One of the worst games to be at. Just knowing your team's done after the first period. An absolute blowout, an absolute massacre. Some thoughts on the game, some things that have to change is the forecheck that we have is one of the worst forechecks that I've ever seen. We play this soft 1-2-2. It's almost like a trap where we have 0 forecheck and Buffalo's just able to hold the puck in their defensive zone, and then when we start to inch towards them, they just flick it up the boards and get it out. It needs to change. The forecheck is awful, especially when you're down 4-0 and you're playing a trap and they're just able to hold the puck. It needs to be at least a 2-1-2 going into their zone. Hammering, guys, it's a playoff game. It's a playoff game and we're playing a soft 1-2-2 trap. It's unbelievable. Forecheck needs to change. A lot of things need to change with this team before Game 5. Higgins doesn't seem to be the problem. I don't think Higgins was the problem. We take him out of the lineup. Clearly, he wasn't playing unbelievable. We put in Lucas Reichel. I didn't see anything from Lucas Reichel. Actually, it was one of the worst performances from that third line that I've ever seen. Minton had an awful turnover in the defensive zone, I believe led to the third goal of the game. Kustanidov wasn't doing anything per usual. Reichel was trying to be all over the place, trying to make too much of a name for himself, and he found himself in the wrong spots here and here again. Some things just need to change with this team. That third line needs to be split up. I think we have to split up the first line as well. Lindholm, Geekie, and Pasternak. It worked at the end of the regular season, but it has not been working now. We need to switch some things up. Maybe call up Higgins. Maybe we put Minton, Pasternak, and Higgins together. I don't know. We have to move things fully around with this team. After a 6-1 loss, everything needs to change. Everything needs to change. We obviously scratched Lowry as well. I like Jordan Harris. I'm a big Jordan Harris fan. He didn't have a good game. It was his first playoff game, which doesn't help. But Lowry, I don't know. I don't know if he's the answer for this, but I think we do call him up. At least he has the experience. I hope that we get to see Lowry back in this lineup possibly for Game 5. Zadorov and Arvidsson both didn't skate in practice this morning. The game is tomorrow, so I don't know what that means. Zadorov obviously got a fine for $5,000 after his cross-check to Dahlin, then he broke his stick over him and then punched him. The team's a total mess right now. We really fully need to shake things up. Zadorov cannot be doing that stuff though. That's a fine and it could have been a suspension. Lucky that it was not a suspension, and we might not have him in the lineup tomorrow due to an injury. Arvidsson also would kill us with how good that second line has been over the past 2 months. Arvidsson, Zacha, and Middlestat. Having them all not together would absolutely kill us. But if Arvidsson's out, looks like Reichel's going to stay in the lineup and looks like Higgins would get called back up. Zadorov out, I would assume, would leave Jordan Harris in the lineup and would call up Mason Lowry. But we'll have to see. Game is still not until tomorrow, but both players did not practice today for the Boston Bruins. It's a must-win game. It's Game 5. We are down 3-1 in the series to Buffalo. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. Especially after being up 2-0 in Game 1, I didn't think we'd be in this position, but here we are. It's a must-win game, but I am not ready to call it over yet. I did say the season's over, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. If we win Game 5 in Buffalo, we come back to Boston, it's Game 6. We can win Game 6 at home. Again, we are the best regular season team at home in the NHL this season. Once we win Game 6 at home, Game 7's anybody's game. I don't care that we're in Buffalo and the crowd is nuts. Game 7 is anybody's game. The Bruins can go out there. We can win Game 7 in Buffalo. We just have to win Game 5 there first. This Bruins team, though, I'm telling you, they're not done fighting yet. That fourth line is definitely not done fighting. I think they can come back. I think they can win the series. I truly do believe that. Next game we're touching on is Montreal versus Tampa. Almost another game between Montreal and Tampa that goes to overtime, but it doesn't. Kucherov throws a shot on net, I believe, with 5 minutes left. It goes off Hagel in front of the net. A very, very lucky shot that goes off Hagel. Goes in. It seals a 3-2 win for Tampa. They tie the series at 2 going back to Tampa. Hagel, by the way, with that goal. In 4 games that he has played in through the playoffs, has 6 goals and is +6 in a tied series at 2. That's unbelievable. Brandon Hagel, what a trade that they got for him. I mean, to take Brandon Hagel from the Chicago Blackhawks is unbelievable. He has really turned this team around fully. Slavkovsky got absolutely laid out. I believe it was in the second period. One of the hardest hits, I'm not kidding, that I have ever seen in my entire life. It goes as no penalty. I thought it should have been a charging. Nobody was talking about it. None of the announcers were talking about the charging. But the guy leaves his feet to hit Sikorsky, I don't know how that's not charging. That is legit the rule for charging. A guy cannot jump and hit somebody. It goes as no call. Fans didn't like it. And then Kucherov is pushed very gently from behind. Montreal gets called for boarding from that. And then Tampa goes on that power play. They build momentum there. They finally strike in 5-on-5 to give them the win. Some penalties that were very iffy for both teams. Looks like Tampa was getting the benefit of the calls in that one a little bit. I don't know. It's a tied series going back to Tampa. I think whoever wins Game 5 is winning this series. No way Tampa loses Game 5 and then they win Game 6 in Montreal. It's not possible. If they lose Game 5, they're losing Game 6 and Montreal is taking the series in 6. But if Tampa wins Game 5 at home, they build the 3-2 series lead. I think they're taking it in 7. I just don't think Tampa wins another game in Montreal. That crowd is way too electric for me. They're way too electric. Josh Anderson's going to be going and banging bodies in Game 6, no matter what the series is. Tampa has to win Game 5 at home. If they win Game 5, they win the series. If Montreal wins Game 5, I think they win the series. A couple of the other series that I wanted to touch on. First off, we are going to Avalanche clinch. They sweep the Kings. Everyone saw that coming. I thought Colorado would at least get a gentleman's sweep. They would do it in 5, but nope, they do it in 4. They absolutely just crush every single game. They beat the Kings. I said when it was 2-0, the Kings were not done yet. Well, they're done now. That one's on me. Bad take by me. Next series. Oilers versus Ducks in one of the most controversial games that we will ever see. Let's talk about it. Another unreal game between these two teams. The Oilers versus Ducks series is one of the most underrated series in the playoffs right now. Oilers start up 2-0. What we've seen in the series is whoever's starting up basically loses the game. Oilers start up 2-0, but they cannot keep their foot on the gas pedal. Ducks come back and they tie it in the second. Then the Oilers strike again in the third, and they make it 3-2 with an Evan Bouchard bomb on the power play. Nothing surprising about that. Jeffrey Viel, the ex-Bruin, strikes back, ties it at 3 with 6 minutes left. Anaheim absolutely erupts. I've never seen the arena that loud, I think, in my entire life, considering they haven't even been in the playoffs in a while. They're never really in the playoffs. The place erupted, tied it at 3. The game then goes into overtime, and in one of the most controversial calls that we will ever see, the Ducks win. Did this puck cross the goal line? Did this puck cross the goal line? There is no angle showing any white between the puck and the goal line, but from the eye, you would say that puck is probably across the goal line. They called it a goal. Again, I believe the rule is you cannot call it a goal unless you have evidence that fully proves that it is a goal. They said that proves it's a goal. I honestly agree with the call. The puck is clearly across the goal line. There is no angle that shows it because the skate is covering the puck, but you can clearly tell that puck is fully across the goal line. Oilers fans are livid. They say there's no angle that shows. Yeah, you're right, but I mean, you can take a guess and say 100% chance that puck is across the goal line. They call it a goal. Anaheim wins it in overtime. It is such a big game because now Anaheim leads the series 3-1. It's really hard for the Oilers to come back and win, but they definitely can. We've seen it before. They're always down in a series, and they always seem to come back and win it. So if there's one team to do it, I think the Oilers do come back and they could win the series. But if they won that game in overtime, it's a tied series at 2. Going back to Edmonton, I don't see a world where the Ducks would come back and win that series. But now that they have a 3-1 lead, they got games to play with. It's hard to say that the Ducks aren't going to win the series, and it's hard for me to say I didn't tell you guys so because I told you Ducks in 6 since the beginning. They have the better team. They have the better goaltending. The Ducks deserve to win this series, and I think they will. They have a 3-1 series lead. I don't see a world where they lose. I do not see a world where the Ducks blow this lead. They have better offense, they have better depth, they have better defense, and they have better goaltending. They're better all around. Yes, they don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, but they have more depth offensively. Their defense is so much better. I just don't see a world where they lose this series.